WLNS is here for you, celebrating 75 years of bringing you the news with 6 News at 11.
A panel of federal judges has ruled against the White House freezing many of the sweeping tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump. It's our top story at 11. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jorma Duran. Tariffs have been a central part of the president's policies even before he was elected, and his sweeping tariff announcements have sent shockwaves through the stock market. But today, the U.S. Court of International Trade halted the current 10% tariffs on virtually every country on earth. The judges ruled the president has exceeded his legal authority. The court also blocked separate higher tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. The Trump administration justified the tariffs by invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, which gives the president more control over trade during emergency situations. But the court rejected that interpretation of the law today, saying a trade imbalance does not qualify as an emergency. The White House has signaled plans to appeal the ruling. And that's not all. The Justice Department announced today it is working to secure a charter flight to bring a deported man back to the United States so he can have due process. This comes after a U.S. District Court judge found last week that the Trump administration had ignored the man's due process rights and ordered the Justice Department to bring him back. Attorneys say the man, who has only been identified by the initials OCG, had no criminal history and sought asylum in the U.S. after facing violence in his homeland of Guatemala. He entered the U.S. illegally in 2024 and was deported to Mexico, where he was the victim of even more violence. Then he came back to the U.S. and presented himself to Border Patrol to begin asylum proceedings before being sent back to Mexico in the middle of those proceedings in February. Separately, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the federal government will begin to, quote, aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students. He says that includes those with connections to the Chinese government or studying in critical fields. The State Department will also revise the criteria it uses to increase scrutiny for visa applications from China and Hong Kong. Among international students studying in America, China is the second most common country of origin behind only India. This announcement comes just one day after the State Department told all U.S. embassies and consulates to stop scheduling new interviews for student visa applications. Speaking of travel overseas, the State Department has issued a Level 2 travel advisory encouraging Americans not to travel to France. That warning urges Americans who do go to France to exercise increased caution due to terrorism and civil unrest in the country. According to the State Department, quote, terrorist groups continue to plan possible attacks in France and may attack with little to no warning. The notice also mentions petty theft like stolen cell phones, peaceful demonstrations, and labor strikes in Paris. Similar notices were also issued recently for Italy and Belgium, also citing possible terror attacks. President Trump has been issuing some controversial pardons in recent days, including for people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th and reality TV stars found guilty of bank fraud. Now, as Raquel Martin reports, he's considering pardons for 2 of the men convicted of plotting to kidnap and kill Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
We'll take a look at it.
President Donald Trump says he's considering pardoning 2 men currently in prison for plotting to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
It's been brought to my attention.
A jury found Barry Croft Jr. and Adam Fox guilty in 2022. Authorities say in the lead up to the November 2020 election, the 2 men devised a plan to grab the Democratic governor from her vacation home and launch a civil war. But the president says he's skeptical of the verdict.
I did watch the trial. It looked to me like somewhat of a railroad job, I'll be honest with you. Gretchen, I think everybody knows.
Governor Whitmer has made 2 public appearances alongside the president since he returned to the White House. Her office could not be reached for comment. Fox and Croft would be the latest Americans to receive the president's sympathy. On his first day in office, the president pardoned dozens of people jailed after storming the Capitol on January 6th. And Tuesday, the president called up the children of reality stars Todd and Julie Chrisley to inform them their parents, found guilty for bank fraud, will soon walk free. The couple's daughter endorsed the president at the Republican National Convention last year.
They're terrific people.
Democrats are critical of the president's pardons. Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner calls the pardoning of Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins a slap in the face. Last year, a jury convicted Jenkins for accepting more than $75,000 in bribes. The president says Jenkins is a victim of a, quote, overzealous Biden Department of Justice. In Washington, Raquel Martin.
Crime Stoppers works because of your tips, and this week authorities in Jackson and Eaton County want your help finding wanted fugitives and identifying a retail fraud suspect. Take a look and see if you can help. We begin this week with our known fugitives. Police in Jackson are looking for this man, 20-year-old Brian Johnson, on a warrant for unlawful imprisonment, tampering with evidence, and aggravated assault. Johnson is 6'2", weighs about 165 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Next up, law enforcement in Eaton County is looking for this man, Skylar Godert, for multiple criminal bench warrants related to retail fraud and cocaine possession. He's 28 years old, 5'11", and 220 pounds. He has brown hair and hazel eyes. And finally this week, Jackson police are asking for help identifying this man, who they say committed multiple retail frauds at a business in Jackson Crossing. They want to hear from anyone who recognizes him. And if you know anything that could help law enforcement solve either of these cases, you can call Crime Stoppers at 517-483-STOP. Your information could make you eligible for a cash reward of up to $1,000. And remember, you can remain anonymous. Starting next week, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will treat the Shiawassee River with chemicals intended to kill the larvae of invasive sea lamprey. Those are parasitic animals that are native to the Atlantic Ocean, but which have invaded the Great Lakes thanks to man-made canals and shipping traffic. Lampreys latch onto fish to eat their bodily fluids, and a single female can lay 100,000 eggs, making them hard to eradicate. Fish and wildlife crews will begin testing the Shiawassee River with harmless red or green dyes before applying the lampreycide chemicals from June 3rd to the 12th. Those chemicals will kill the baby lamprey before they can grow up and breed.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
The bulk of the day just fine across mid-Michigan. In fact, nice enough you could spend a little time outdoors. Our friend Nicholas captured this great shot of a couple of eagles flying around in Lansing. Love to see that this time of the year. They're out and about, a little difficult to find, but if you're along the rivers or just out in the community enough, you'll eventually see a couple of those guys out there. We've got a couple on the river in Grand Ledge as well. Our 5-day rainfall outlook, there is more rain in the forecast. Don't worry, nothing too heavy. That will be well to our south. As you plan the forecast day by day, Thursday, not much, just a couple spotty showers. Similar on Friday. I think Saturday and Sunday things will begin to clear out. And Monday, I suspect this rain's going to end up a little further to our west. We've kept the rain chances relatively low, but we'll have to keep an eye on that as it's going to warm up in a big way as we head towards next Monday. Our high temperature trend, here's what we're talking about. We've gone from the mid-60s today. By Friday, we bump into the mid-70s. A little cooler Saturday and Sunday, but pleasant. Look at next week, though. By Monday, close to 80, and then we're looking at mid-80s for highs from Tuesday through Friday, and enough probably instability to spark a few afternoon and evening showers or thunderstorms. Don't see anything severe next week, though, just kind of your typical summertime pop-up afternoon storms. Our long-range temperature outlook through June the 7th shows the Great Lakes region bullseye with above average temperatures. As we move out through June the 11th, it's starting to slide a little further towards the eastern seaboard, but it's not all that cool to our west. We'll have seasonal temperatures probably moving back in as we round out next weekend into the following week. Precision cast through the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. Low pressure system number 1 pushes away from the region, so dry weather at 8 o'clock. We'll likely have dry weather tomorrow evening, just a slight chance of a few pop-up showers. Our next storm system, one we're watching, is to our south. That's an area of low pressure. Looks ominous, but it's going to stay to our south. We're going to have to keep an eye on this cold front sliding down from the north. By Friday evening, it'll begin to move into the area, so we'll have a chance for a few evening showers or storms before this clears out and cools us down just a little bit as we head into the weekend. Forecast-wise, temperatures, again, fairly mild overall. We'll drop into the low 50s tonight, and then through tomorrow morning, we're near 60 or so by 11 o'clock. We continue to warm into the mid and the upper 60s by tomorrow afternoon. Then on Friday, we'll start out again on the cool side. We'll see high temperatures climbing into the 70s ahead of that cold front. Forecast for tonight, look for a low temperature down to 53 degrees with showers moving out early. Then forecast-wise for Thursday, it'll be dry most of the day and just a slight chance tomorrow afternoon for a few showers by around 5 o'clock. High tomorrow near 67. Over the next 6 days, temperatures on Friday mid-70s, cooler for Saturday and Sunday. Then we turn up the heat and humidity Monday and Tuesday, and by Wednesday, warming up for a few afternoon storms. Mid-80s Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, slightly cooler with upper 70s next Saturday, Sunday, into that following Monday.
All right, David, we appreciate that. Well, coming up on 6 News at 11, President Trump is putting pressure on Vladimir Putin to prove that Russia is serious about ending its invasion of Ukraine. That's next. So stay tuned. 6 News at 11. We'll be right back.